What's up, Cavs fans? German Spencer Davies here with you for a post-game edition of Courtside with the Cavs as we break down everything that transpired in a 135-119 win over the Indiana Pacers. Listen, I know it's not the same Indiana Pacers from the playoffs, but I think every win over that team is a satisfying one for fans, especially when the Cavs win running away in dominant fashion the way that they did. A lot of different things to discuss. And as the graphic sort of said there in the beginning, I actually should have I titled this correctly. I didn't title the graphic correctly. It should have been Donovan Dazzles, because Donovan Mitchell was absolutely stunning yet again on this Tuesday, or this Monday night, excuse me. In leading this team with 43 points. I wrote a story over at Cavs Roundtable about how, based on what we talked about in the podcast last week, Spence, like, is it actually worse for the Cavs if Donovan Mitchell's in that MVP conversation all season? Because I think it would speak to his usage being at a place where they don't necessarily want it to be, and maybe relying on him too much. But while it still is happening, it is absolutely an awesome thing to watch, to just watch this man go to work every single night and put on the show like he did tonight to drop 43 points on the Pacers.
Yeah, and I mean, just doing it, coming to the rescue a little bit in the fourth quarter. I think the way that they started that fourth quarter was like, okay, it's done with, because Donovan's getting downhill. He's using that move with up and over dribble, and Pascal Siakam didn't know what hit him when he was looking behind him, and all of a sudden Donovan's at the cup. He's been just tremendous all season. And, for me, I think what you said resonates, because the Cavs are being over reliant on Donovan Mitchell right now. And Kenny Atkinson's aware of it. I was listening to that press conference after the game tonight, and he sent him a text message before this game. Told him, I need 40 from you. I want 30 shots. They can be 5 or 6 bad ones, and I'm good with it. We just need that scoring punch right now. Something about our team isn't working out. We need that. We need that from you. And it foreshadowed the night, and Donovan delivered on it. It's his second 40-plus point game in 3 games. This is his third of the season. He actually leads the NBA in total threes made now at 81. I didn't know if you knew that. Like, this is a guy who's putting the team on his back right now. Now, I want to say that also acknowledging that the young guys have been the most consistent part of the entire season. And by young guys, I mean Jalen Tyson, Craig Porter Jr., Naquan Tomlin, even Tyrese Proctor coming in with some big minutes tonight again. But Donovan's the one who's shouldering the load right now. And it's unfair to him right now, but like Kenny said, it is what it is until we get out of this rut. So, yeah, we're going to need that from him. And we don't like the process of it, but this is where we are at this moment. And he said he knew that the Cavs would not lose tonight. As soon as he saw what Donovan looked like after last night's loss to the Celtics, and you come into tonight and that look follows going into Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and he's stoic. He's not jovial, as Kenny put it. It was businesslike. It was very, very much so businesslike. That was before the game, and that was after the game. He's talking to Serena Winters in his post-game interview on FanDuel Sports Network, Ohio, when he's usually happy-go-lucky. He's usually a little bit more laid back. Donovan was like, this don't mean nothing. This don't mean nothing. This is what we're supposed to do. All due respect to what the Pacers are and their organization, we're supposed to win a game like this. And I expect it. Should be expected of us. And that's the attitude that they're having going forward, because Jalen Tyson called him out on Sunday night. And now you had Donovan Mitchell not calling him out tonight, but saying this is the expectation, this is the standard. And I feel like that's good. That's good, because the Cavs, you can know now that they're being affected by this. The 3-game losing streak affected them mentally, clearly. And Mitchell and Tyson are the first ones are stepping up and saying this has to change. Even Evan Mobley said on Sunday night that frustration can be a good thing, and that arguments and any kind of disagreements that can be advantageous, because that's how you build a team. You can't always have the group think. You can't think someone's going to come rescue you. This is a situation where everybody's got to come together. And even Kenny said tonight, and he didn't even say this yesterday, it's the vets that are holding them back right now. The young guys, he has
Yeah.
no problem with the young guys. It's the vets. It's the vets that need to step it up and do better. And those are the ones who have been there, done that. So I think that it's very telling that they're holding each other accountable right now. And it's a good thing, like I said.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I want to get to not tonight. There's a bigger conversation to be had, I think, as part of our normal, the regular pod episode. Because you mentioned Kenny texting Donovan and understanding there's a reliance on him and that they're in a rut right now. And I want to get into at some point, like, okay, so how do you get out of it? What is the fix? How do they sort of resolve this thing? How do they get away from relying on him too much? I think that's a bigger conversation. I don't need that to be the focus tonight, just in this post game conversation. But I think you bringing that up is important because it's good that they're at least acknowledging it, and now it is about like figuring out where to kind of go from here. And I do think it was good to see Donovan rise to the occasion again, but also somebody like Jalen Tyson, who was speaking as just a 2-year guy in this league, and saying that he, sort of backing up what he said the other night in regards to knowing that things weren't going well and that they needed other guys to step up and play well. And he has certainly played at a high level this season. And that's an encouraging thing. So I think the positive in all this is that they sort of notice the issues. They know that it's a problem and they're trying to sort of work to fix it. But in the meantime, like, yeah, you do need to collect wins along the way. And obviously they did that tonight against an inferior Pacers team. So that's all good. Let's talk about Jalen, because Jalen obviously finishes as the second highest scorer on the team, 27 points to go along with 11 rebounds as well. Did what he always does with just a little bit of everything is kind of been his philosophy. And by the way, he did it tonight with just the 3 fouls, which has been, we know the fouls has been something where he's picked up a lot of those sometimes early in games, and it's kind of prevented him from being able to get into a rhythm. That wasn't an issue tonight. He was locked in all phases. And I just continue to be so encouraged by the effort that he gives, his ability to make plays in a number of different areas, and the fact that I think back to when he first was drafted here, Spence, when we were at his introductory press conference, and somebody asked him, like, how soon do you expect to make an impact? And he was like, oh, like I'm here to play. Like, I'm not like, and obviously last year he had to kind of wait his turn. He has lived up though to like those words, right? Like, now he's getting his shot and he's been awesome. And he is a reason why, if the Cavs can get this thing corrected, if the Cavs can get this thing righted, you feel encouraged by the fact that you have another new sort of role player who's doing what he's doing in Jalen Tyson and his ability to play make for this team.
No doubt. And I think you have a real conversation about like where he is in the rotation. Is he a starter at this point?
Yeah,
Because
yeah, we've touched on that a little bit, but yeah,
the consistency has been remarkable. And I mean, the shooting just hasn't gone away. This is a good month and a half sample size now that you're looking at with Jalen Tyson. And it's been so impressive to see not only the 3-point shot, but like you said, the defense that comes with it. Kenny called him the ultimate role player tonight. Okay. And this is somebody that Kenny said is going to be a $60 million player because of the way he's buying into a role. He's excelling in said role. And now it's coming back to him. And you look at a game like tonight, Jalen, yeah, he was spotted up in the corner, hit some threes. He was out there waiting for the ball, but he also was having some reps where he's handling and he's getting involved and in the open floor and transition, finishing through contact, the defending without fouling. Man, he did a good job on Andrew Nemhard. He did a good job on Ben Mathurin, who had a tough time on him tonight. JT is just doing this consistently right now. And I think for him to be playing with a Donovan Mitchell, who he called probably one of his greatest teammates ever in terms of leadership, I think playing with guys who know what they're doing and the vets that he's been in lineups with have helped him come along, because we were there. We were there the first couple weeks. JT was beating himself up. There were some turnovers. There was a lot of foul trouble. Like, it just wasn't going perfect for him. But, you stick with him. You let him play through some of those mistakes, and that gives you confidence. You look at a game like tonight, JT had 27 points on 10 of 13 from the field. I mean, you can't ask more of a role player than someone that's not known as a go-to scorer, so to speak, right? Like, that is a terrific ball game. And again, the glass, 11 boards. He's the one, and going back to what I just said in our first point, he's the one that called out the team last night and was the one who was in front of the cameras shouldering the blame when he probably shouldn't have been. But he goes out there and backs it up like this tonight.
Yeah.
That's telling. That's telling, and you know what? That's a true professional and someone who's growing up in front of our very eyes.
Yeah, listen, we know Kenny's had to experiment a lot with lineups and try some different things. Like I am truly fascinated to see once everybody's back healthy, and we're hoping at some point they get there. To this point, that's been a struggle, right? Like every time somebody comes back, it seems like another person's hurt. But assuming that they get everybody back healthy here in the new year, I am fascinated to see, like you mentioned, where Jalen fits into the equation with this rotation because, like you said, like he is almost making it undeniable that he should be in the starting lineup because he's playing so damn well. And like you said, he has kind of like that. He has a veteran presence about him, even though it's only year two, in the handling of this current situation and him speaking up to his teammates. That stuff all matters. That stuff is huge. I think it's certainly worth mentioning him and highlighting him for his efforts tonight and most nights on the floor. I want to get to Evan Mobley. No, people are going to look at the box score and they're going to get mad and say, "Oh, Evan disappearing again. He only had 13 points." But I think it's notable, first of all, that it was a pretty efficient night for him. 6 of 13, shot 46% from the floor, 0 for 3 from 3, which you'd like to see him make at least one of those, right? But he still contributed in other ways. Had 5 boards, he had 5 assists as well, which is a solid night for him. But the problem for him was obviously just the early foul trouble that he got into. It felt like, despite that, he found ways to still be impactful in certain areas and still make certain plays that were necessary to help this team tonight.
Yes, no doubt. And Evans had a good week. He's had a good week of hoop now,
Yeah.
guys. Like just because he's been not so good in November doesn't mean that that's the case the rest of the way. Like if you're actually watching, Evan has had a good string of games now, which is important for the Cavs because one, Jared Allen's going to be out for another week, and who knows how much longer with those finger issues. He has a broken left finger on his ring finger, and then he strained his third finger on his right hand. So, he can't catch the ball anymore. So he's going to probably be out for a minute. Evan Mobley's done great on the glass. He's done a really good job of defending, whether it's in help or whether it's protecting the rim. Yes, he's still kind of having some issues trying to finish through contact sometimes, but I love the way he's driving off the perimeter right now. Watch when he goes left. He's going to get to his spot. He's getting to that little shake and into that little jump hook. That is Evan Mobley. That's who we like to see. When he gets to that quick shoulder fader turnaround shot, that's Evan Mobley. I like to see that. Getting to the free throw line, getting on the glass. Evan looks like he's playing more comfortably. And that's a good thing to see because, you see the confidence fade and them asking him to do all these different things. That's when we were having those questions. I mean, you look at the last 2 games before tonight, he had 27 and 14, I want to say, against the Celtics. And I think he had 24 and 14 or something the game before that. So he's starting to right the ship. And that's a good sign because, it's only December 1st. So you don't know how long and how many times he's going to do this before he gets to that next echelon. But just getting him back to being himself, getting him closer to the basket, as I've been saying for weeks now, you get him closer to the basket, make him less of a perimeter threat first, then you figure out the rest of the stuff. And I feel like he's getting back to that. And I feel like, now that he's hit some threes from beyond the arc, they're going to start closing out on him, and then he can start getting downhill. And the playmaking is really what stands out to me about the last 3 games. You look at 5 assists tonight. I think he's doing a good job of not turning the ball over too. That's tremendous to do for a big man. To have 5 assists and no turnovers, especially when he had the ball in his hands quite a bit. So, get some of those actions rolling, and then you can try to do those other experimental things, right? But get back to the basics, do what you do best. And I think Evan did a really good job of that tonight. And that's hard to do, to have a plus 22 in that short of time for a starter, to be under 30 minutes and to be at plus 22. So that kind of shows you, how impactful he was defensively, and also on the offensive end to have the all-around game he did, and fighting through foul trouble, quite honestly.
Yeah, it's a really, really good point. And I think it's a good sign that Evan has started to kind of find himself again. I think they took a little bit off his plate. I think they reduced the role a little bit that he was sort of doing early in the season, and like you said, tried
Yes.
to get him back to doing what he was so good at before, playing closer to the basket, playing off ball more, and setting him up for all those opportunities rather than making him sort of bring it up and facilitate the offense. And I think that's allowed him to have the success we've seen in recent weeks. So it's encouraging, and hopefully that allows him to unlock those other things down the line. I know there's a few other things that you want to highlight. I was just going to say, I think one of my favorite moments from this game easily was the Thomas Bryant posterized dunk that he got. Played about 12 minutes tonight. Obviously, Cavs are pretty shorthanded at the moment when it comes to their center play and those guys with the Larry Nance Jr. injury, and obviously JA now missing a little bit of time due to the finger. That's been a problem this year. So I thought getting him in there for 12 minutes and he was 3 of 6, added a few points and a couple rebounds for you was nice. And I thought that was a nice highlight play. But Spence, I know there's a couple other guys that you certainly want to hit on. What else stood out to you in this game from tonight?
Well, I'm glad that you brought up TB because he did deserve some love on this game. I thought that dunk he had early was like a rim rattler and kind of got the energy going a little bit. But my thing, man, again, I'm just gonna go back to my earlier point, is just how much the calculus changes when Craig Porter Jr. is in the game and when Naquan Tomlin's in the game. It's undeniable at this point. Look at the runs that the Pacers were making in the third. Okay, Indiana started to cut it down. I think they got it to 6, and that was because, well, first of all, let's start here. Kenny played a lineup that had neither Donovan Mitchell or Evan Mobley in it. Okay, before the end of the first half, and that's why Indiana kind of cut into it. So I don't even really. What was the lineup? Porter, Proctor, Wade, Hunter, and I think it was Travers. And I was like, oh, don't know about that one, Kenny. But anyhow, so Indiana cuts into the lead. They're only down by 12 at half. That shouldn't be the case. That should not be the case whatsoever. You're thinking, oh no, here we go again. So Indiana gets it down even further in the third quarter because they're pushing the pace. They're starting to run the Cavs out of the gym again. And what saves you? What saves you when your offensive process isn't working? Offensive rebounds. It's a part of the Cavs' identity when you get offensive boards. Craig Porter Jr., he got credited with 3 offensive boards tonight, but he should have had like 7. The way he was poking the ball out of the air, out of guys' hands, off of ankles, off of shins, and they just ended up back in the Cavs' hands, and possessions that Cleveland ended up taking advantage of and getting second chance points. You look at Naquan Tomlin tonight. I was just super impressed by how he guarded Pascal Siakam. Pascal is a made man. Pascal is a made man in this league. And Naquan was not backing down. He got 2 blocks within the first 5 minutes that he played. And then you have him in there doing his crazy cuts and running around like chicken with his head cut off. But I love it. I love watching it because it's infectious. And I just think anytime those guys get in the game, there's just something about the T word, the toughness, but also just the overall energy changes. And those guys deserve every bit of credit. I mean, Naquan plays 27 minutes tonight. He closed the game down the other night, by the way, with the normal starters. So that should tell you how much these Cavs trust Naquan right now, and he's trending towards something big because he's seeming like a rotational guy right now anyhow. So, you look at that growth and his plus 15, I think that's big time. Tyrese Proctor, again, just seems like he's not phased at all by the NBA level. He's just coming in smooth as ever. He's got the size, he's got the speed to keep up, and no hesitation on the shot, no hesitation when he's defending. They've got an embarrassment of riches of young guys right now, which is a good thing. It's a good thing to have, but there will come a time when there's a conversation about who's not going to be playing, and that's going to be a real tough decision for Kenny. And I don't envy him about them. But that's my takeaway from tonight, is that those young guys, man, the least experienced guys on this team right now are keeping them afloat. Other than Donovan Mitchell being Superman, as Kenny put it, the young guys are the ones keeping this team afloat. And that shouldn't be the case. And hopefully their energy seeps over into the vets, as we were talking about earlier. But that's the story, and that's the summation for me tonight. I think that they saved their butts tonight because Indiana was well on their way to doing what they do to the Cavs.
Yeah, listen, I think all that's incredibly said. I'll say this, like, the silver lining in this slow, weird start to the season, relying on Donovan too much, a lot of injuries that we know just keep lingering and lingering and lingering, is that those young guys are getting some very, very valuable experience and, getting themselves in situations that they potentially see in the playoffs when you need those guys to step up. I mean, the playoffs nowadays is so much about the deepest teams and the teams that have the role players who can come in big spots and make those plays that you need, those extra plays that you need. And these guys are doing that right now. So while there's a lot of negative and some concerns, obviously, around this team, that is a positive that could pay huge dividends when you get to April, as long as the Cavs can kind of get themselves back situated and feeling like themselves again once they get through this tough spot of the season where they're dealing with a lot of different things. So, guys, we appreciate you hanging out with us, especially as late as we were sort of getting to this one. CavsRoundtable.com. Head on over there. You can find Spence's live game thread if you missed the game, if you want to kind of just follow along with what kind of played out throughout the game. I know our guy Tommy had his takeaways up there as well from the post game, and we got a whole bunch of other content over there for you, as well as right here at the YouTube channel where many of you are watching this right now. And I can tell you that we obviously don't have post game commentary and things tonight, but we'll have that for you this week as the Cavs return home for a couple big ones. They play the Trailblazers on Wednesday and then the Spurs on Friday. So we'll be there post-game to sort of cover that stuff for you and have another post-game conversation as always. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already so you can keep up with all the latest Cavaliers news. Spence, appreciate you jumping in and that we got a chance to do this. We'll obviously reconvene. We got another episode of the pod to drop this week. And I think we already have like our main topic sort of picked out because I talked about it earlier. So we should have some fun with that. You can find Courtside with the Cavs wherever you get your podcast, but also at that Cavs Roundtable YouTube channel. So thanks again for jumping in. Have a good rest of your night. We will talk to you guys later this week and keep on following along with all things Cleveland Cavaliers with Cavs Roundtable.